Welcome back to Super Sentai Review episode 100! Yep, I finally reached this number. Been a while since I actually had a review series that's not related to an anime reach this number. Wow. And it only took me 6 years to do this. Now you might be asking, Nick, why did it take you 6 years to basically get to episode 100? Even though the rest of your series you do takes you about a couple years, but this one, 6 years? Well, there's a reason for that. Before I talk about the episodes of Goggle-V, which I'm discussing episodes 26 to 35. Yeah, so basically my return to the series is to talk about 10 straight episodes. Not the first time I've had to do this. Now, initially, when I originally did this series 6 years ago, I was basically watching the entire season all the way through and then do my review. And of course watch the movies as well. This was like this for several of the Sentai. Yes, starting with Gingaman. Yes, that was the very first one I did this with. Yep. That was the very first Sentai I ever finished. Yep, was the first one I ever did a review for, was that particular one. And, well, I have done several of them since then. Yes. The one I left off with was actually something I did not actually work on that point. No. I had actually taken a break from watching Super Sentai for quite a while. Yes. The furthest I had gotten to, believe it or not, was Goggle-V. Yes, that was the most recent one I had gotten to. I had only watched 11 in just 1 year. 11 Super Sentai. Yep. Just 11 of them. And now, in the previous ones I had discussed was Gingaman, Mega Ranger, Time Ranger, Gal Ranger, O Ranger, Goggle-V, Gokaiger, Zoo Ranger, Die Ranger, Car Ranger, Goggle. Yeah, the first 11 I discussed were all adapted for Power Rangers. Yep, they were. Gingaman was adapted for Lost Galaxy, Mega Ranger, In Space, Time Ranger, Time Force, my personal favorite Power Rangers series, Gal Ranger, Wild Force, O Ranger, Zeo, Goggle-V, Lightspeed Rescue, the one I actually kind of was watching at that point, Gokaiger, this was adapted for Super Mega Force, which I agree with the opinion about this one, where this one was better than Super Mega Force. Yep, I agree with the opinions of this one, surprisingly. And I also went through, the other ones were Zoo Range. This was adapted for the very first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yep, the very first one. Die Ranger used some Zord footage this one for Mighty Morphin Season 2. Zords and basically the monsters. And one of the Ranger suits, it was the White Ranger suit, which was actually the Daba Ranger suit, I believe it was. It's been a while since I watched it. Car Ranger and Goggle-V. Car Ranger was turned into Turbo, the season that nearly killed the franchise at that point in time. I initially didn't watch this series when it aired until years later, because initially, according to my parents, I actually was imitating the stuff happening in the show. The first show I actually kind of, in a way, was watching, was Lightspeed Rescue, believe it or not. And that was back in 2000. The first one I watched almost entirely all the way through, except for the premiere, the finale, and the team-up episode, was Time Force. That was the first one I watched. And I have met at least one actor from that particular run, and that was Michael Cupon, the one who played Time Force Blue. Yes, and he was actually very appreciative of the fact that that's my personal favorite. Years later, I actually watched the premiere, the Soul Team episode, which I think was with Lightspeed Rescue, and the finale. The very first season I watched completely all the way through, from beginning to end, was, and this might surprise you, the first premiere I watched was Ninja Storm. Yep, that was the first one I watched. The first Power Ranger season I watched all the way through was SPD. The one was adapted from Daka Ranger. I have not watched Daka Ranger. I will watch that in the future, but not this particular moment. Yep, and the last one I had left off with was, in fact, Goggle-V, the one adapted for Megaforce and some handful of episodes of Super Megaforce. I had also watched a small chunk of the movies, mostly put the movies I've watched were the team up movies. The first one that was not technically a team movie was the one that had for Orange. That was the first one I watched where it was not a crossover. And the next one after that was Power Ranger, The Fire Mountain Roars. That was the second one. The rest of them, some of them basically were the movies associated with their particular runs, like Power Ranger, Ghost Ager Returns. And the movies for the last two Sentai I watched were Denzi Man, Sun Vulcan, Masked Man, Goggle-V. Yes. And when I came back this series, I think it's about a couple years ago, I briefly came back to it in the year 2020. My initial plan was to watch 10 episodes of Sentai and to watch some anime. And as I put that to the side, I have to watch the first 10 episodes of Jack, which was the very first one I came back to. Now, the reason why I picked Jack when I came back, because this Sentai was really short. It was only 35 episodes, and I got through it in just about 10 episodes per se for review-wise. Yes. And I went to Denzi Man. Well, actually, next was Battle Fever J. Now, I checked out Battle Fever J. This one was mainly because this was the first ever Megazord to appear in the Super Sentai franchise. Denzi Man because I love the look of the villains. And, of course, on Vulcan because it's a sequel, obviously. And I also checked out Live Man at the Sun Vulcan. The reason why I checked out Live Man was because it came out of the very year I was born, 1988. And then I checked out the one that came before that, Masked Man, which that one I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, it was actually really enjoyable. Yep. And now I'm on Goggle-V. Well, Goggle-V, actually. I think this is the sixth ever Super Sentai. And I last reviewed it 2 months ago. Yep. Got up to 25. Now I'm discussing pretty much episodes 26 to 35. I should point out just before I start this one, I have actually thoroughly enjoyed watching Super Sentai. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The one person who I've seen actually any reviews Super Sentai aside from myself have been Mars Girl, who the first she got was Sun Vulcan, which she never actually reviewed the finale. I did. I reviewed the finale. She never did. As a matter of fact, the last thing she ever did for that particular watching Super Sentai was about 4 years ago. She has not anything since then, and she very rarely does anything for her channel. The last thing she did was basically supporting Funimation as it relates to supporting anti-Asian hate. That was the last video she did. That was a couple years ago, and that was the last thing she ever did. And if you're wondering, have I watched any of Mars Girl's reviews of anything per se? No, not really. Aside from the Super Sentai stuff, I never watched anything of hers per se. I had seen some of the stuff she was in, mostly crossover stuff related to Channel Awesome, like the 4 movies. There was the 5th one made. I didn't see that one. That was an anthology one. There was one 10th anniversary one, but that got canceled due to pretty much all the producers quitting, due to some idiots at higher ups like Channel Awesome. Yep, but now talking about 10 straight episodes of Goggle-V. Yep. First started with episode 26, which is basically called Black Great Reversal. Yeah. So what's Death Dark's basically plan for this one? Give everybody amnesia. And Goggle Black was briefly got amnesia. And it turns out, nope, he never got amnesia. He was actually faking it. Now, the reason why he did this was to get back at him for basically wiping a child's memory of her own mother. Yep, she's going, Mama, Mama. Even though her mother was standing right in front of her, she apparently didn't recognize her. And he was upset with that, so he basically fought back against it. One thing I really got to point out, though, Gogo Pink, I think she's had one focus episode. Usually, like, all the guys get focus episodes. Yep. Now, episode 27 is the Human Jungle. Okay, you're probably thinking, what's the plot of this one? Death Dark turning people to trees. Yep. A plot that was actually reused by a Great Rich Bedora in Zoo Ranger. Though she used on children, not on pretty much the whole population. Yeah, very similar concept. Though I think at this point in time, that maybe it was original at this point. Interesting idea, though. It was mostly put basically this watermelon monster. Yes, a watermelon monster. They turn people into plants. Heck, they even turn people into freaking watermelons. Yeah, probably some of the weirder ones. Yes. Now, 28 is a very interesting one per se because this was his return of several dead monsters. Yep, several dead monsters. Though it basically, at the time, this was considered to be the 100th episode of the series. Yep, they brought back several monsters, including one that was just killed like the last episode. I thought it was a very interesting idea. And for some reason, the Sentai, well, the version I watched, referred to the shark as, actually wasn't this guy, was one or one, they called her as Same Monzo. Yes, same. Yep. Also, one thing I should point out in these episodes, the Death Dark headquarters, Deftopia, barely does anything at all. It just sits in one location a lot of the time. You see the interior briefly, in the strategy room a couple times during the episode, and send out a robot, and that's it. We don't see anything move, we don't see anything destroy anything per se. Nothing. It just sits on the sidelines. Well, probably lasts for a little while. Other 20 was a really interesting idea. That's the first thing, something like this where, oh, let's have it where we can fight various monsters. Now the key to 29. It is, simply put, another Goggle Black episode. Yep, another Goggle Black episode. And you're thinking, really? Another one? Yeah. This also was the first one basically to destruction of one of the braces. Yep, though I did basically get a replacement for this one. Now, this is technically a reused plot device from the previous season of the show, which on Vulcan when they had the Red Rangers who actually destroyed. Yeah, it was destroyed, but look how they built another one, no problem. Yeah, it was the first time one of the bracelets been destroyed, but they actually fixed no problem. Yep. 30 was a really fun one, all about basically hands and a golden sword. Yep. And apparently, like, okay, gotta get the girl outside because the guy who was protecting her sword wants to have one of the members of the Goggle-V marry his granddaughter. She's like, why the heck are you doing this for? Yeah, it's by far one of the most baffling things related to this. Yeah, it is so hilarious. The whole idea that one of the Goggle-V male rangers basically offered marriage to a teenage girl who rather be with her friend than basically get married to one of these guys. The sword itself, apparently, according to the Hell Commander himself, Desmark, yes, according to him, apparently the sword is a product of dark science. I'm like, okay, interesting. Do they get their hands on it? Briefly, and then of course the Rangers get back, and then the sword is dumped in the lake and is never seen again. Yeah, very interesting standalone one. Yep. They have Great Blue Assault, which, yes, this is in fact a Goggle Blue episode. Yeah, all about a snake creature. Yes, a rattlesnake, whose plot is this: abducting children to make them into dark death scientists. And if they're not pretty intelligent, kill the kids. I'm like, wow, one of the most darkest plans I've had with this thing. And look how basically that they're pretty smart about this one. Boneless humans. Yes, the plot is simply get a bunch of bones for some reason. Though it's mostly a Goggle Red episode. Had one of these in a while. Yes. And it turns out the one-shot character in this episode is an old friend of his from the police department who's now a security guard at an aquarium. Interesting to say the least. At least this guy's got balls taking out a freaking monster, even though he gets chastised for it later. Yeah, at least got praised. In fact, he's pretty brave. Now, why in the world does Death Dark want this thing? I have no idea. Yep. 33, which is called Great Explosion Caesar? Yes. Yeah, the plot of this one is simply get their hands on have Death Dark get their hands on 2 bracelets from a country near India to destroy Gogol-Caesar. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, get rid of the carrier. That's actually something they did carry over from the last one. But at least this one was pretty ingenious. Yeah, make the machine basically a living bomb. Like, oh, put these bracelets like immortal, except that it only works on living beings, not machines. And eventually the bracelet is destroyed, and it turns out this little girl just happens to be the daughter of a late princess who was murdered by Death Dark. Well, actually, they actually murdered her family. And I'm glad the fact they didn't show death on screen. Yes. That was a very interesting plan, this one, destroying Gogol-Caesar. Yep. Now, 34 is a key episode because, well, it's the debut of a new weapon, the Golden Spear. Now, the reason why they use this damn thing, now, in the previous episode, they used Gogol Flash twice on the monster. The first time, it fails. Next episode, fails because apparently the monster made a material known as Neo Metal. Like, okay, gotta come up with a new plan to basically destroy these monsters, so they can't use the particular move anymore, Gogol Victory. So, create a freaking spear out of their sabers. And then have Gogol Red throw the damn thing at the monster. Usually end up with a freaking gut and thing is destroyed the monster anyways. So I gotta admit, this actually was a pretty interesting, good key episode. And it kind of does lead into some stuff basically brought up in the next episode. Episode 35. Yep. Oh, and by the way, the daughter of the scientist who made this particular metal, yeah, apparently the deal was basically he makes this for them and he gets off purpose and he basically like, oh yeah, we'll free you. And like, nope, we're going to take your daughter and make the Grand Marshal's wife. Yep. And thanks to her, they developed new weapons. And it's a spear they probably use for pretty much the rest of the run. Yep. Now, as for the last episode to talk about here, episode 35, Attack of the Iron-Eating Humans. Yeah, this is mostly a message episode about starvation. Yeah, and the monstrous one is a frickin' hyena. Yes, a hyena monster. Yeah. That is simply put, basically, what basically the monster used here is pretty much a hyena monster to turn people into basically hyenas to eat metal, causing a lot of damage. Not the first time in Super Sentai where they had the monster turn ordinary people into monsters. Though they defeat the monster at the very end, the first people they turn into monsters are the family, one of the convoys. And he uses a move called Hyena Kiss. And the first person to use it on is the mother. Yep, playing a kiss on a woman. I'm like, okay, that's actually quite neat of the monster. Give it to the woman first. I guess you might give the phrase of ladies first. Have the woman get it first, then the guy, and then the convoy's brother. And what do? They eat the car. Yep, they proceed to eat the car. They also have these people to eat signs, guardrails. Yeah, they turn police officers or either guns. Yeah, quite by far one of the most bizarre episodes I've seen so far. Have people eat a bunch of random things. And I'm wondering, do these people get sick afterwards eating all this stuff that's basically not edible? Do these people get sick? Do they break their teeth? Unknown, because basically it's never mentioned ever again. Yep. Typical Super Sentai. Yep. But pretty much, although this one basically also had Dillinger meet one of the convoys for the first time. As far as I can tell, they never actually confronted one of the convoys before. Which one, you might ask? I think his name was Toru, I think his name was. I think it's Haru. Yeah. He actually has a part in this episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty good set of episodes, but no weak episodes, surprisingly, of this batch. Nope, no weak episodes. That's a bit of a surprise for 10 straight episodes. No weak one. Yep, and that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. Now, you might be thinking, okay, how many episodes of you tomorrow? I don't know. As this particular right now, I have 15 episodes left to go for Goggle-V. I might do one more video. Probably do about 3 more episodes, and I'll basically discuss those, and I'll probably call it a night. Yep, until I see you all later. Bye.